All right, everybody, welcome to the Hiking My Feelings virtual campfire. This is virtual campfire number 50, 50, which is wild. One, because that's a lot of talking around a campfire that doesn't exist. And two, it's really cool because this time last year was when we were getting ready and like pulling this all together. The virtual campfire started as our COVID-inspired attempt to replace the vibes that we feel around the campfire at the end of the night, end of the day, good day hiking, sitting around a campfire when our tour got canceled last year. So we were supposed to hike around Chicago, May 26th to June 14th. Instead, we did a 2-hour live every single night for 20 nights in a row to get things fired up, raise money for our organization. We are a nonprofit 501c3, and we're on a mission to heal people. We're on a mission to improve community health by introducing people to the healing power of nature. So today is number 50. This is a big deal for us. Thank you for being here. Thank you to everybody that's been here, whether you've been here for all 50 or this is your first time. We're excited to have you. Let's start with some updates. First of all, my name is Sydney Williams. That hasn't changed, but if you didn't know me, now you do. So I'm Sydney Williams. I'm the author and founder of Hiking My Feelings, and this is the virtual campfire. So let's talk about Take a Hike Diabetes. If you are new here to our corner of the internet, this sparkly, wonderful place that we call home, we are on a mission to hike 1 million miles for diabetes awareness this year as a function of our Take a Hike Diabetes campaign. And to give our weekly update, thanks to our partners at UST, Solomon, and Ross Chocolates for making this all possible. We have tracked as a community 12,955 miles towards our million-mile goal. And that doesn't sound like a lot when we're looking towards a million miles, but ultimately that's really dope because most of the country has been frozen until like now. So things are ramping up. We've already logged 1,000 more miles than we had more than 1,000 miles that we had last week. So as more people join, as more people hit the trails, that number just keeps going up and up and up. Big shout out to Team Diabetics, who has grown exponentially through the Take a Hike Diabetics giveaway that ended last week. We will have winners coming up for you on that in 2 batches. The first round, Eric is going to announce. The second round, we will announce in early May once we've got all of our activities totaled up from our friends over at Kilter. So 12,955 miles tracked so far, 150 participants out there hiking for diabetes awareness, and we've raised $10,835. Friendly reminder, our friends at UST and Solomon are both matching donations up to $5,000 each. So for a total of $10,000, they are matching donations. So when you register, your registration fee counts towards your total for funds raised. And then we have a bunch of great milestones to reach. When you reach $100 raised, then you get the t-shirt. $250, you get a hoodie. $500, you get the annual membership to the Summit Circle, which is our membership community for big-hearted adventurers. And then we added a new tier at $1,500. When you raise $1,500 through the Take a Hike Diabetes campaign, you are eligible to receive a free slot to our fall retreat on Catalina Island with Kaleo Wassman, Melanie Wassman, and a very special musical guest, which won't be a surprise because he was at the last one, but we're dragging this out to make you excited. We're going to talk about that after our interview with Aya. Coming up first today on our show is Aya, this gal. So we met in the base camp group on Facebook, and I had just posted about Take a Hike Diabetes. She was like, hi, I've never heard of your organization. I live with type 1 diabetes. I want to get involved. How can I do that? So she is an environmental steward, a marketer, an outdoorswoman, and a member of T1D Nation, living with type 1 diabetes since 1997, or as the millennials call it, the late 1900s. What? Not even millennials. I'm a millennial. As Gen Z calls it, the late 1900s. Through life's ups and downs, she's found joy, solace, and strength in the outdoors, on the trails, at the crag, and under the stars, and is passionate about helping other diabetics feel safe and confident outside. Miss Aya, come on down. It's like The Price is Right. Camera on. I'm dancing. I'm stoked to have you here. So how are you? How are things?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm so good. We have had a big, ginormous first week on the road for Take a Hike Diabetes. We are like officially in motion. It's so nice to see your face. So let's talk a little bit about you. Who are you? Where are you living currently? And then we'll go from there.
Sure. So I'll start with the easy question. I am currently living in Seattle, Washington. Just moved here about 3 weeks ago from Southern Utah. And before that, I was in Boston. Who am I? It's a great question. Um, wow. I didn't think I'd be stumped by the first question. Well, let's see. I, love being outdoors and have a really long and interesting relationship with the outdoors, I think. And part of that comes from living with type 1 diabetes. And so, in this context, I'm so excited to share my story and, like you were saying, helping other type 1s and type 2s, really, any diabetics feel more comfortable outside, because that was something that I struggled with. And so that's, I think, from a, personal mission, from that perspective. I work as a marketer in a nonprofit. And I'm originally from Portland, Oregon. I like music. I don't know. Keep going.
I like it. Yes. So when we originally connected, one of the things that I was looking for and that you just like immediately brought to the table was making our world here at Hiking My Feelings inclusive of people, all types of diabetes, because I live with type 2. That's been the base and the foundation for everything we've done, is reaching out to folks with type 2 diabetes. And you specifically were like, hey, this is really awesome. And with a couple tweaks, we can make it open for everybody, so everybody knows that they're included. So as a function of that, you started a really, really awesome interview series called The Outdoor Type. And you've had an opportunity to chat with a bunch of different outdoorsy folks who live with type 1 specifically so far. What has that process been like, finding and chatting with fellow type 1s that are just outdoorsy and awesome?
It has been so great, like so rewarding. It's been a lot of fun. And I really am grateful for you providing this platform for me to be able to do that. I think sometimes living with type 1 can feel isolating if you haven't found the right communities or haven't found other communities of type 1s. And I think in the more recent years, there have been more communities externally facing through like social media, and that's been so great. Like you were saying, we found each other on an outdoor base camp, which is like right through Facebook. So I think that's been huge, like from a personal perspective, being able to connect with others who not only live with type 1, but also have sort of gone through similar journeys around navigating our relationships with the outdoors. And I personally, I feel like every time I'm interviewing someone, I learn so much. And I'm like, I want to make sure everyone knows, right? Like whatever I share, they're not my original thoughts or anything. Like I cannot take credit, but really like as a community, when we come together and share our stories and, raise our hand to be sort of present and accessible to other people in our community who are facing similar challenges, I think it can be really strong. And I know, and I hope that, those interview series are helpful for folks who are reading them. So it has certainly been a great learning experience and also just really fulfilling.
Yeah, I think, they're all amazing. And I think the one that stands out to me so far was Taylor and her diabetic alert dog, which is just like the coolest thing. I've heard of this. I briefly looked at how much it costs and then I shut my computer immediately because medical alert dogs are so expensive. But
Yeah.
it was just really cool to hear about the different experiences that she had and how Claire, who is the dog, I loved that you asked, like, what's the difference between like Claire being a dog and trying to get your attention
Right.
because she loves you
Mm-hmm.
and her trying to like save your life. And for anybody that hasn't read the article, you can go to hikingmyfeelings.org/blog and find all of our posts there for all the interviews for the outdoor type. But the one with Claire is just, or with Claire, the one with Taylor is just so cool because it's a whole nother layer of living with diabetes that I had definitely never met anybody who had a medical alert dog before. So that was super cool. One of the things that I'm really excited to chat with you about is how you started working in the outdoors and how your life with diabetes inspired that. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, definitely. And I just want to piggyback on your note about Taylor's interview too. I've loved interviewing everyone, and I'm so grateful for everyone who has, who've given us the time to talk to them. And I think Taylor's is interesting because we talk about so many different aspects of like layers of not only living with diabetes, but also being outside. There's sort of like two parts of it, right? And we talk a lot about sort of outdoor safety and how diabetes is one aspect of it, but then there are a lot of other aspects too, right? Like whether you identify,
Racism.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like what you look like, and that can include like your skin tone, your gender, like all of that. So I'm so happy you brought that up because I think we talk about some really important things in there. And then to answer your question on sort of my, I guess, how diabetes has shaped in some ways my career, some ways the things that I've done. Yeah, I think diabetes has been really interesting in terms of that relationship with the outdoors because for the longest time it felt like um sort of an inhibitor. Like I don't think I've talked about this much and I don't even know how much I've processed it, but right now, you know, if people look at me, look at my Instagram account, whatever, like it looks like I'm really outdoorsy and I am. Like I love being outside, but there was a point in my life where I was terrified of being outside, just like or being maybe not only outside but anywhere remote. So before I even knew what anxiety attacks were, I would get them on airplanes because it was so remote. And I would get them on long road trips when we're in the middle of nowhere. And I think it really stemmed from this idea of like, oh my goodness, we're so far away from medical care. And so not to like, you know, go too far deep into it, but it sort of was around sort of, you know, like trusting my body and like not being able to do that or not being able to trust myself to be able to control my diabetes when I was out in these remote areas. And so it's been really interesting. And so for a while, it was sort of this like inhibitor. And then at one point with this last gig I had, which was an AmeriCorps volunteer program through the Utah Conservation Corps, it was more of diabetes played like this enabler role because, you know, just for some background, I was in the advertising world, as you know, for a handful of years, and you know, we love it. But
So much fun. I chatted with Rob a couple weeks ago and that episode just came out and we were like, let's talk about your transition out of ad world, which I'm going to ask you about, but go ahead.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, ad world's great. Really creative, really fun, but also for me, a lot of burnout. And I came to a point where I was questioning whether the industry was right for me, whether like what I was doing just in general and where I was. I just had all these questions. And so I knew I had to take a break, or I wanted to, but I was sort of nervous about it. I was definitely nervous, actually, not sort of. I was like mortified. Like I was so scared to make a change in my life that was so drastic. And I had literally, the irony is like I came across this Instagram ad, like a paid advertisement for this Utah Conservation Corps, like outdoor, like, you know, work outside, whatever. And like, and I think the fear almost made me not do that program. It was super immersive. Like you work, camp outside, live outside pretty much for 9 months in the middle of nowhere, Utah. And which was so drastic from my old job, right? But what actually pushed me to do it, in addition to having sort of like mentors who were like, no, you'll really gain a lot from this. Like, don't be afraid of job stuff. Don't be afraid of like what you think you're supposed to do, which was so helpful. But diabetes was like, oddly enough, where it was an inhibitor before, it was an enabler this time because there's sort of the financial aspect, right, of being able to go out and do a volunteer program, get paid a stipend, which is like pretty much nothing for an entire year. And then on top of that, you think about medical costs, right? And at the time when I was making that decision, I think I was 25. So, you know, health insurance up at 26 in terms of being on my parents' health insurance, which I was really grateful to be able to be on. And it was really great coverage. But in my head, I was like, this might be my last chance to do this because I don't know if I can physically afford to live a life like that. And so that really was the last shot. I was like, this is do or die, you know, like not really, but like, I was like totally like,
but it totally is like in that, but that's the thing. And I think I'm going to like pause you for a second because we minimize one, how many diabetes related decisions we have to make, how that totally shapes the career opportunities we take, the adventure opportunities we take. Like it really is a big deal. And I encourage you to talk about what a big deal it is. Cause like, it really like it in a way it is do or die because if you more so for than the average person that lives without diabetes, like they don't have to think about being out in the middle of nowhere and being that far away from medical care in the way that you do. Cause your entire life is impacted by this. Go on.
No, totally. And there were definitely competing aspects, right? There was like can I do this with diabetes? But also diabetes is telling me like this is my only chance. And I think part of living with type 1 too is like sort of your mortality is definitely a little more in your face, right? And so in some ways that helps shift a lot or change a lot of our or maybe impact a lot of our decision making in a way that I'm grateful for, because I don't think I would have done an experience like this had I not had both the sort of mortality thing in mind, and also the financial like feasibility of it in mind. So I was sort of just like, I'm gonna do this, you know, like it'll be fine. Or and if it's not, it'll also be fine if it's not fine, you know. So that's sort of how I got into it, and it was an amazing experience. It was so formative, and I would encourage a lot, like anyone who needs time and space away from sort of the daily grind or whatever cycles you feel like you're stuck in, to explore options like that where you can take a break if have the sort of like privilege and means to do that, because I do recognize that it is a privilege to be able to take the time to do that. So.
Yeah, well, and I think it's really important to talk about, like, for anybody that's listening that is like, oh my gosh, she's right, like this is do or die. Maybe it's because they're about to be off their parents' insurance, or maybe it's just because they're ready for a life change, and this could be the thing that they do that sets them on their new path. Like, what fears did you have going into the volunteering with the Utah Conservation Corps, and how many of those were valid, and how many of those did you find out were like, okay, that was just me like trying to protect myself or being hyper vigilant about my diabetes? Were there any fears that were just unfounded by the time you got there?
Some of them I think was just, yeah, like maybe my just not knowing how to do some of the things that I was concerned about. So one thing, right, I was like, okay, middle of the nowhere Utah, under the sun, like super hot, like my insulin's gonna bake. And some of these trips are backcountry, so I can bring ice for the first 2 days, but how about the other 6, right? And so I did have a lot of sort of, maybe not a lot, but a handful of logistical questions around that, right? And things like, if we're backcountry too, how long are we going to be backcountry? And how much sugar will I have to bring, and supplies and everything? And will I have room in my pack for that, given all the other tools and things that we have to bring with us? And so I actually brought up some of those questions in my interview with them, which I think is also another thing I'd love to sort of advocate more for, because it wasn't comfortable. I almost didn't ask because I was afraid I might not get the job, if I told them that I had this sort of, I don't know, something that might be construed as getting in the way, right? And I think what was really helpful is, and this is part of the reason why I think I was excited to write for you and do these interviews too, was the minute the person who was interviewing me said, oh, we've had crew leaders who were type 1 diabetic, or who are type 1 diabetic. As soon as he said that, I was like, oh my God, thank God. Like, and
that's great.
Yeah. And they had these things like, oh, we have these like stone coolers that you can like dig into the ground, and underground it'll stay cold with your insulin. Or we've tried, you can put it in like a water bottle and tie it to like a tree, and then let it sit in like running water because that's cooler. Like, they had all these really creative ways to solve for some of those questions. And it was just, I think even knowing that one person has done something with the, like, I guess, condition that you're living with means a lot. So that was sort of just my green light. I was like, as soon as he said someone else had done it before, it's like, perfect. No need to say more. Like,
that I know it's possible. I'll be fine. Yeah,
totally.
That's so cool. That's amazing. And I think that's important to talk about on a couple levels too, like from a diabetes perspective, certainly, but also just like all of the intersections that all of us exist within. Like, representation in anything we want to do is so important, especially when it comes to outdoors work. And that's one of the things that's a big component of our advocacy with the Take a Hike Diabetes campaign, is people from historically underrepresented communities don't feel safe or welcome or represented in the outdoors, and also have the highest prevalence of diabetes. So like, in my mind, there's these invisible these dots that are like so simple to connect. Like, it makes sense. If we increase access, then in representation, then like community health should improve. But there's so much nuance and so many different systems that get in the way of it being easy. It's simple, but it's not easy. So what other kinds of like those kinds of things did you have going into the Montana? Gabachia, our board member, did Montana Conservation Corps.
Oh, no
You're
way.
doing Utah.
Nice.
Yeah. So what was that like? What were there other things like that where you were just like, oh my gosh, like, can I? And then you were like, yes, I can.
I think probably first and foremost it was diabetes related things. And then if we start to think about other layers, I think it wasn't like a huge deal for me, but it was definitely something I thought about, like, you know, scrolling through Instagram feeds and seeing if there were any other people of color,
Yeah.
or the ratio of women to men, the conservation and just outdoor recreation or like natural resources field has long been male dominant and still is in some cases. It was really great because this season that I was in, there were more, I think, women leaders than there were like men or something like that. But I felt great being in that group, and I think they did a really great job of selecting the folks who were on the cruise that year. But it's definitely like a consideration, and I know for some folks there is even more of a consideration. And I think, like you were saying, the nuances are crazy. When I talked to, you know, just bringing back Taylor's interview again, like she mentioned that there are still like Ku Klux Klan meetings in her backyard, pretty much, or not her backyard, but, you know, an area where she knows she can't, like, that's just, and unless you hear that or read about it, or ask about it, I guess that's really important too, is like, we have to put it on, we have a responsibility to try to learn and not just have the folks with the lived experiences always trying to speak out, right? Because it can be so tiring. But us, like, you know, we have to do our own research. So yeah, it's definitely nuanced. It's complex. And like you were saying, it feels simple and like, I wish it were, right. And
in my utopia world, it is, because it is that simple. And people would be like, oh, I know better. I can do better. Let's fix it. But there's so many competing priorities, namely making money, that a lot of people just aren't comfortable letting go of to make the world a better place, which makes me tremendously sad, but means that we have lots of important work to do. So
that's a whole other realm for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and I think from the conservation perspective, like, what was, when you, like, I'm sure your days varied because you're doing stuff in the wilderness, but like, what was like an average day like for you, and how was it different from living at home as far as like insulin and blood sugar management and all that?
Let's see. So the program, just for some background, essentially we have a home base, which for me was in southern Utah, and in a town called Cedar City. And so that's sort of like our home base. We have our office there and our tools and things like that. And there are different crews that go out on what are called hitches. And so it's essentially your stretch of days that you're working. So some hitches are 4 days long, some are 8 days long, and then you get like a proportional amount of time off. So like I mostly had 4 3s, which was 4 days on, 3 days off. And so in the days, which was, you know, in some ways helpful for me from a resupply perspective, because I didn't have to, you know, carry as many supplies. And we didn't have as many backcountry projects this year. And so I was mostly front country, and I was in national parks. I was in Bryce Canyon for 2 seasons, so the summer and the fall seasons. And so from an accessibility standpoint, you know, of course, like that's a little more accessible than say like in crazy like BLM or like Bureau of Land Management land, right? Where you're way out in the middle of nowhere. So that definitely helped from a diabetes management perspective. But our day-to-day was pretty much, you know, wake up nice and early, drive to the work site, sort of a combination of, it was very physical, like physically demanding, right? So like hiking into work spots or work areas, doing things like developing or maintaining like backcountry campsites and things like that. Or maybe if there's an invasive species issue, right? Sort of removing invasive species, things like that. So it's sort of a hodgepodge of tasks, which was cool because we got to learn all the different sort of pieces of conservation. But I guess regardless, it was always physically demanding. And so from a diabetes perspective, there was definitely a learning curve at the beginning, just like low blood sugars all the time, no matter how much I adjusted my insulin. And I think another thing I just completely hadn't thought about before was elevation. And so Utah sits, a lot of the areas that I was working in sits really high. And so higher elevation for my body, and I don't think, everybody's different, but for my body, that meant working a lot harder and my blood sugar tanking a lot more and my insulin sensitivity being a lot higher. And so that took me a minute to figure out, I think, because it never been anything I had to figure out before. I'd always been near like cities or the coast and near sea level. And so that was interesting. But I think once I got in the groove of things, right, it maybe took about a month or so for me to adjust insulin levels, like what I was eating and things like that. And then I was sort of good to go. And then I think the other piece is just educating my crew members, like co-leaders and like bosses around diabetes and the fact that that's might be a thing where I have to sit out for a few minutes or more like 15 minutes. I wish it were a few minutes. And sometimes I would fight that too. I'd be like, no, I'm fine. It's like, no, I really need to sit out for 15 minutes. So it was great to have some support from some friends and co-leaders who are like, hey, how about you actually take the break you need? You'll be fine, or the work will be fine. So yeah, definitely different aspects. Hopefully that answered your question. I feel like I just rambled.
No, that's great. And I think, well, because it's interesting, like I didn't know that about insulin. I know that when I'm at higher altitudes, I feel like my body's like a very well performing machine versus at like sea level. But I hadn't thought, because I haven't ever been on insulin. I hadn't thought about how that could impact blood sugar and how insulin would activate or not in that way. So that's super interesting. And one of the things that you mentioned that I'm curious about, you mentioned that you were kind of educating your co-volunteers and leaders and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
In the system, with the organization that you were volunteering with, is there like a standard level of like medical understanding? Like were people well trained around diabetes, or did you find yourself educating a lot?
Yeah, we actually, so crew leaders all have to go through what's called a woofer or wilderness first responder training. And so that's pretty extensive, which is great. But
I'm doing mine this fall. I'm so excited.
Oh, heck yeah. Congrats.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Brett, I'll be in New Hampshire. He's coming up later, but
cool.
I'm just letting him know.
You know what's interesting? I'd be curious your reflections on their diabetes section, because I found myself having to reflect on what they were teaching, and also sort of it's hard because I feel like everybody's different, and so while they might have certain standards or thresholds or whatever that they teach, I think that's one thing I had to add to the class was like, hey guys, like everyone's different, and this might work for some people but it might not. And so it'd be an interesting thing. I'm curious like what your experience is like with that.
I'm interested too. This is gonna be fun.
Yeah, and it's great for the people in your program or in your group, because it was great to hear people who raised their hand and were like, oh well, I'm actually allergic to XYZ, like this is what that's like, or like and things like that. So it's really great to have that. But so leaders have their woofers, and then crew members go through a similar process, but they're woofas, so wilderness first aid, which is just essentially like a handful of hours less than what we do as crew leads. And so that's great. But I think constant reminders are also maybe not like super excessive or anything, but quick reminders here and there about like protocol, what to do when someone's blood sugar goes low. And for me, I'm terrible because I only do them when I go in like near emergency situations. Like the other day, I like woke up, I think my blood sugar was like 40 or something, and I couldn't even like get up. And so I like was just like pawing at my partner. And I was like, hey, can you, and I couldn't even like speak. I was like, can you please get me sugar? And after that, we were like, okay, let's do a refresher. Like, here's my glucagon. Like, here's like, and so I guess, and I need to be better about this too, is like, making sure it's sort of top of mind, not in a way that, people are worrying about it, but in a way that people feel confident that they know what to do if they're ever in an emergency situation with you.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh my gosh, who's the furry in the background? Hi.
That's Charlie.
Hi, Charlie. He's so cute. Oh my gosh, for anybody listening to the podcast later, Aya has the cutest dog in the background and I want to go squeeze it. Yay. Okay, so considerations that you had to take in the wilderness, we kind of talked about that with the Utah stuff. So now like you're not working in the wilderness, you're back at the desk, but like you recently took a new position.
Mhm.
Tell us a little bit about that and like the transition from all the things you were doing in 2020 or not doing, I guess, with COVID,
Mhm.
and what life looks like for you now that you're back and working full time.
Yeah, definitely. I think so. I'll start with, so right now I'm a marketing manager for a nonprofit in Seattle, and I think I'll start with sort of what I learned in the Conservation Corps experience because that really impacted what I'm doing now. And even like I don't think I would have ever found you if I had done, like things like these connections that I've made because of this program are pretty incredible. But yeah, so I think conservation life gives you a lot of time and space to think, mostly because you don't have service. So you can't scroll on your phone. But also you're like in the middle of sort of, you're not in the city, like you're out in the wilderness, and it's beautiful and makes you reflect and things like that. And also like once work is done, it's done. So that's another part, right? It's not like we can just hop on, like you don't hop online to build a trail. Like you have to be there. So that
Yeah,
was so
that would be interesting. Virtual trail work.
right? Virtual trail work. Oh my gosh. I hope that never happens.
No.
Um, but yeah, so that was so critical for me to figure out what I wanted to do next. And a few things that were clear is like, one, I loved the public service aspect of um, the work I was doing with the Conservation Corps and just really doing something that had a greater mission. And then I also, as I was doing the work, I just found myself missing some of my marketing work, which I never thought I would be in that situation. But I love the work actually. So I'm back. I'm back doing marketing, but instead of doing it for a big advertising agency where, I didn't always have, options of like what kind of clients I would work with or organizations. And some of them might have been ones that maybe like I wasn't super passionate about or like felt uncertain about whether my values aligned with theirs. And it was like sort of challenging to find the right fit in that setting. And so I was really intentional about where I wanted to work or like for who and for what cause. Um, while still being able to bring my skill set in marketing. And so I think originally I was looking out, I was thinking in my head sort of, okay, how about environmental communications? I love going outside. I think it gives me so much. And so being able to give back to it would be so, so incredible, which is great because of my work here with you. And that's been really great. Unfortunately, and then I think really like realistically, environmental comms is not lucrative. And I certainly don't do things for the money, but like living in cities, right? Like I'm living in Seattle, it's really not, it's unrealistic to live on a certain salary. And I was just finding that like one thing that saddens me is I think as a society, there isn't as much value put on, environmental work. And the folks who are out
Which
there,
is wild because we don't have a planet B. It's Earth Day, everybody. Like there's
yeah,
no backup plan.
it's,
Like this should be
it's
the most important work we do. Way more important than the marketing I
insane.
used to do. I used to tell people to like sit out your butt on the couch and watch NBC shows all day. Like that ain't saving the world and it certainly isn't making anybody any healthier.
It's crazy. But then we get paid so much to do these things that like,
So much money to be making the world a terrible
yeah,
place.
I know, right? Or like at least not better. I don't know. And so
Yeah.
um yeah, so that's I guess tangent there. But but that sucks because I mean, I am in certain ways. I found ways to still be connected to environmental work. And I actually just started sitting on a board like voluntarily for a trail association up here, which is really great.
Yay.
Yeah, really exciting, but also just it sort of sucks that like professionally it's hard to do that and still have a certain amount of comfort in like your financial situation. And so I ended up at a organization. So the nonprofit I'm at now is a consulting arm of a network. I'm going to butcher this. It's the consulting arm of a bigger company called Philanthropy Northwest. And as an organization, our mission really is to see more collaborative and equitable philanthropy. And so sort of shifting philanthropy on its head a little bit because for a long time, and I think the connotation is still there, it's sort of like this top down thing where It really shouldn't be. It should be about the communities that we're serving and whether philanthropic efforts are actually making a difference versus just sort of like coming in and out with pockets of money, right? And like really helping communities become more sustainable. And so it's a really cool environment to be in. I am in meetings with like people who are just so awesome, and really want to see like a better philanthropy sector and like a better, stronger communities. And so that has been really, really great for me. And I can still live in Seattle without, I don't know, like whatever it would
You can
look
live
like.
comfortably in
Yes.
Seattle. Yeah.
That's great. But yeah, realities of work stuff, you know, like money's no joke. So
yeah. So what's it like being back? So you're still remote, is that, or are you in an office? You're
no,
remote.
yeah, I haven't met, I don't know how tall my coworkers are.
I know what you look like from here up, but I have no idea how tall you are. That's actually really funny. You're going to meet people in person and be like, oh my gosh, you're an Amazon. So how has your new career influenced your ability to recreate? Like, are you still able to go outside and do fun trips? And like, are you dirtbagging in style now? Or like, what's your deal?
Yeah, I think what's nice is that, and I'm lucky because I moved to Seattle right when we have like the most sunlight, which is awesome. Because then after work we can, you know, go out on trails and things like that. And so yeah, I still definitely go outside a lot, camp on the weekends and things like that. And what's great about this gig is that I feel like I can sort of shut off a little bit more, or like manage my time better. Whereas in the client services world, as you know, sometimes it's like it's the clients, you know, deadlines that matter the most. And if that means you have to work weekends and long nights, which was a lot of the times the case for me, partly my own doing because I'm sort of a workaholic, but also just the environment I'm in or I was in, didn't really let me do that. And so also I was living in Boston without a car. So that was really hard. Now I'm in Seattle with a car. And so, you know, sometimes I'll clock out at 5:30, which is just like unheard of in Boston.
Like, what is that?
Right. And then like just drive down this one highway, I-90, and like down it, it's just like trees and mountains and like crags and hiking trails. And so I would say most of the recreation happens on the weekends, but there's certainly like opportunity now during the week, which is really awesome.
Oh, that makes me so happy. So, two more questions before we wrap it up. One, what are some of your favorite trail snacks? This is like my favorite question that you ask people in the outdoor type because I've learned so many new tricks for how to get blood sugar up, like without just like literally chugging sugar. Like there's so many
Yeah.
great options. So what are some of your favorites?
Yeah, I think I go through phases because I get tired of things and they start to, it feels like to some people are like, cool, you get to eat like sugar. And I'm like, no, I don't want to, like, you know, and so I have to sort of keep it fresh. But for a while, I was doing the honey stinger stroop waffles because they just taste amazing. But I realized that they had a little bit too much, excuse me, sugar, and they did a crazy, like they just like made my blood sugar spike like crazy. So I sort of stopped doing that. Oh my god, I'm like burping, I'm so sorry. And what I've recently done is, here, I have them right here, are these like fruit leathers. Oops, can you still hear me?
Yeah, I love fruit leathers. That's awesome.
Yeah, so I have like these fruit leathers, let's see, pure organic, I think they're from Target. But
Nice.
and they're super lightweight, which is awesome. And they have a little bit less sugar, like I think sometimes around like 10 grams or 12 or maybe even 8, which is really great for when you're hiking because you can sense sometimes that your blood sugar is heading down, but it might not be, you know, all the way down.
Yeah.
And so it helps sort of like level it back up. And so that's my current chill snack. And then I think when I was talking to Eric about his chill snacks, he mentioned just peanut butter and honey. And so I actually have this like right next to my bed, just like a giant thing of honey. And sometimes I am spoon fed it from my partner if I'm like,
sometimes I chug honey in the middle of the night.
Yeah. It's funny like how much I'm realizing how much sugar I have right now, like by my like mango.
Dude, mangoes are so good.
Dried mangoes. Yeah. So all of those goodies for sure and more.
Nice. Yeah, I'm really getting into the dried fruit. I have like packets of applesauce too, which are really nice.
Nice.
refreshing. So my final question for you, Miss Aya. Woo. So I like to ask people this, just in general. There's a lot going on in the world, of all the things that are on your heart and mind. If you had a magic wand and you could just like wave it about anything in particular, what would you fix, or what would people have more understanding about, or like what kind of systems would you change? Like if you had a magic wand and you could pick anything, and you can pick multiple things, we've got time. What would that be?
Um, I think, yeah, that's that's so hard. I should have been prepared because I know you asked these like at the end. I think I would, if I could wave a wand, I would want, and I don't know what systems or how this would happen, but a world where everyone feels included and empowered to do what they want to do, with their lives. Because I don't think we're there. People live in fear. People think they're a barrier. There are like a lot of perceived barriers because of just like lack of education and just like so many that I can go into a huge rabbit hole on this stuff. But I want people to feel empowered. I don't want people to feel like they can't do something because of diabetes or being a woman or being Asian or being, or being young or, things like that. Just there's so many different dimensions, but no matter where anyone is in their life, what they look like, whatever point of they are, I would hope in a world, in an ideal world, they could feel like, they got this.
Yeah.
There's nothing standing in their way.
Well, and I think that's one of the reasons why we do this show. That's one of the reasons why Hiking My Feelings exists, is like when we talk about this stuff, like the hard stuff and the joy that we can find, whether that's outdoors or just anywhere in life. Especially though, when we talk about the hard stuff, like that gives people permission to do the same. And we realize that we are so much more alike than we are different. Like you and I are pretty different, but we're also pretty similar. Like we have different kinds of diabetes. We're both women, but I'm white and you're not. And there's so many things where we could be like, oh, we have nothing in common. But one of the things that I think is so interesting, especially around like the diabetes community, there's 122 million of us around the United States with type 1, type 2, and others. Like that's a lot of people. Like I have something in common with like 1 in 3 Americans. That's pretty nuts.
Yeah,
like when we can find those common grounds, and like that's the thing too, is like a lot of our commonalities are found in the stuff that like everybody's been conditioned not to talk about, and that's why we've been conditioned not to talk about it, so these things can continue to like separate us. So I love everything that you stand for. I love the work that you're doing with us here at Hiking My Feelings, so thank you so much for your talent and your time. Is there anything else that we didn't ask about that you want to share with the world before we go?
Thinking, let's see. I don't think so. I think we hit on so many things. And I guess I would just want to say that if any of it resonated with anyone, or if it like, inspired questions, I just want anyone who's listening to know that you can always reach out. And I'm happy to talk, to share more of my experience, to hear yours. Like you were saying, I think the community and connections and talking about our stories is really important. So I'm here for you, for anyone. So please reach out.
And where can people find you, Aya?
Oh, that's a great question. I guess Instagram, I'm obsessed with Instagram Reels now. So you can always find me with like the green, like online. But yeah, if you want to like share my Instagram handle or whatever, and it's TSURUTAYA. And so you can certainly follow me there, message me there. Yeah.
Awesome. Yay. Well, Miss Aya, thank you so much for joining us. If you're able to stick around, we'd love to hear what you're thankful for. And if you got a split, it's been nice chatting with you. And sure, people can find us. You can find Aya on her Instagram. We'll include that in the show notes. And also check out the Outdoor Type and all of our amazing articles about diabetes, currently all written by Aya. So definitely check those out, get educated. The more we know, the better we can do. So thank you, Aya, for being here. I appreciate your time and your energy. and it's so good
Thank
to see your
you so
face.
much. This has been really fun. And I'll stick around
Yay!
for sure.
Awesome. Yay. Cool. Perfect. Sweet. Then up next, we have a big announcement. So we are doing another retreat on Catalina Island. We had so much fun on our retreat in March that we are doing another one. So I want to share some details with you about what that looks like. So up first, let's talk about the date. So we are doing this retreat on October 14th through 17th. So we added a day. Our original retreat, we started on Friday, and then we camped out, hiked on Saturday, jammed by the fire, woke up, hiked back, and then it was over. And while we were all on the ferry together back to the mainland on that Sunday, there were people in two camps. They're like, oh my gosh, that went by so fast. I can't believe that it's already over. And also, oh my gosh, I feel like I was on that island for a week. So we all know if you spend lots of time outside, the healing power of nature is the real deal, and time just stretches outside. So we have added an extra day. So we are hosting this retreat starting on Thursday, October 14th, running through Sunday the 17th. And a little bit about what this is. So Hike and Heal Catalina Island is a wilderness wellness retreat that is facilitated by us here at Hiking My Feelings. So me and Barry are your co-facilitators with our friends Melanie and Kaleo Wassman, who run a organization called Rebel and Muse, and they host a lot of yoga retreats. Kaleo is the lead singer of a band called Pepper. If you're unfamiliar, look it up and listen. And the cool thing that I realized, like, we had all these plans going into this retreat, which we started planning in 2018, and then it got postponed when the Corona happened last year. That was like the first thing that got postponed, was this retreat. And then we postponed it again. So we postponed it the first time from March to September. And then in September, there was a health restriction in LA County that wouldn't allow us to gather in multiple household groups of 10 or more. So we ended up, there is something in my eyeball and it's driving me crazy. We ended up doing the retreat in this March, which was like the first time that we had the opportunity to do it. So when we originally started planning this, we had so many ideas for what we would do. And what ended up actually happening was above and beyond anything that I could have anticipated. It was absolutely wonderful. So we are adding an extra day, and this space is a space where you can laugh. I mean, like, thinking of the things that we saw on our last retreat, we were laughing, we were crying. Some of us were just like raging at this mountain that was so difficult, either up or down. And just really like having an opportunity to have our own experience healing while we're walking, but then doing it in a community setting. And that, of course, is what Hiking My Feelings is all about. And if you've been part of our community, like starting in 2020, then you don't even know like what Hiking My Feelings was like before we couldn't do in-person events. Like, our entire organization was based on getting people off their devices and out into nature. So this retreat for us, for me and Barry, this was our first opportunity to do that in over a year. So it was really nice to be able to go out and see other people have this experience. So that was the other part of it for me too, was I know what happened to me on the island. I know I healed. I know it was a transformative experience, not once, but twice, both in 2016 and 2018. And to see more than 20 people go through the same kind of experience was just so validating, because for me, and I've mentioned this before, like, I grew up in a community where, like, if it wasn't coming out of a doctor's mouth, some dude in a white coat, then it wasn't healing and it wasn't medicine. So when I walked across an island and had this like transformative healing experience, I was like, man, this is some hippie stuff. Like, I don't know if this is legit, but I knew it was, because it was like my life, but I hadn't found the language to articulate it. And I hadn't really met anybody at that point that had had a similar experience. So now I know it's true and it's absolutely wonderful. So me and Barry are hosting. So from the Hiking My Feelings side, we include our trail journal for every participant. We teach you about self-discovery, how to take notes while you're hiking, doing reflection exercises over the course of the weekend. And Barry is a former wilderness EMT. And by the time we get back to California for this retreat, I will be a wilderness first responder. I'm doing my training this summer up in New Hampshire at Solo, where Barry earned his wilderness EMT rating. many moons ago. So we're both Catalina Island naturalists as well. So we lead the hikes, we lead the self-reflection exercises, and we'll talk a little bit about some of the cool stuff we have planned for this retreat in a minute. But then Kaleo and Melanie do yoga and Reiki and meditation and breath work and just all kinds of wonderful stuff together as Rebel and Muse. And then of course, Kaleo plays music. And we are excited to welcome back our friend Kevin Bong from Stick Figure. He has his own band, and he also is the keyboardist for Stick Figure, which is one of our favorite bands. And K-Bong came out to the ranch last year. And then we had some epic adventures last summer. We backpacked through Yosemite. We did some stuff through Joshua Tree, up and down the Sierra Mountains, Lake Tahoe. So we were busy in the outdoors last year with K-Bong, and he has decided to come back and join us officially for this retreat. He kind of scooted in last minute on the last one and was a big surprise for everybody. He is officially part of this one. And Kaleo and K-Bong will play sets together, acoustic around the campfire. And then K-Bong, we're adding a session each night as the sun sets, in honor of my friend Adam, who used to say you only get so many sunsets before he died in 2014. There is this magnificent spot on the beach where you just have this unobstructed view of the sunset. And so we're calling that the you only get so many sunsets sessions. And one of the things that I love about adventuring with K-Bong that we did over the summer was like, we would just be like setting up camp and he'd just be strumming. And he likes to kind of set a soundtrack for the environment that he's in. So we're really excited to have K-Bong join us. He'll be setting a little bit of a soundtrack during our yoga and meditation in the evening, before dinner and our self-reflection time. And then of course, joining Kaleo around the campfire. So our itinerary is awesome. So on Thursday, we take the ferry to Catalina Island. We do this all as a group. Registration includes your ferry ticket. So we start at San Pedro Ferry Terminal, and then we all go over to Two Harbors together. Our last retreat, we were going from Two Harbors out to Parsons Landing and back. And this retreat on Friday or Thursday night, we'll stay in Two Harbors like we did during this last retreat. We'll do our welcome ceremony at the restaurant. We'll eat all together. And then we'll have a little jam by the fire. And then we wake up and we hike to Little Harbor for this next retreat. So on Friday morning, we wake up, we have yoga and meditation with Rebel and Muse. We pack up camp, and then we will head out to Little Harbor. From there, we'll grab some breakfast and some snacks from the Two Harbors General Store on the way out of town. And then we hike to Little Harbor, and Little Harbor is our home for the weekend. So we hike to Little Harbor on Friday. Once we get in, as we're going over to Little Harbor, there's two really cool shade structures on the route from Little Harbor, or from Two Harbors over to Little Harbor. So at shade structure number 1, we'll have like a self-reflection exercise. It's number 2, we'll do some stretching and stuff to prepare for that last downhill into Little Harbor. And then when we get to Little Harbor, we'll set up camp. And then we'll have our sunset sessions on the Whale's Tail. It's this rock formation. So there's Little Harbor, and then this Whale's Tail formation of rocks, and then Shark Harbor. So there's actually 2 harbors in this cove at the campground where we're going to be. And that's going, so the Whale's Tail is this beautiful, it literally looks like a whale's tail. That's why it's called that. And from there, you're just looking at unobstructed ocean views. And so we'll be right on the water, jamming, doing yoga, stretching, Reiki, all that fun stuff. And then we have dinner, and then we go jam by the fire. And then we wake up on Saturday and we do it all over again. So instead of moving camp, we don't have to pack up. We're not in a rush. We'll wake up, we'll do yoga and meditation and Reiki. Once we get to Little Harbor, then our friends at Catalina Backcountry take over on food. So we do dinner in Two Harbors on Thursday at the restaurant. And then Friday evening is our first meal with Catalina Backcountry. Saturday morning, they make breakfast. We do yoga, meditation, and Reiki with Melanie and Kaleo. And then Barry and I are doing some hikes led from and returning to Little Harbor. So we have a couple different options this time based on the group's pace, which we'll figure out on Thursday or Friday coming over. And then we'll talk about like the different plants and animals that are local to Catalina Island, the indigenous folks that first called Catalina Island home, which was the Tongva people. And then we come back, We do another sunset session. We reflect on the hikes that we've done so far. We do some more stretching. We do a little bit of meditation, and then we have dinner, and then we have another acoustic set with Kaleo and K-Bong. And then on Sunday, we wake up, rinse and repeat for our last day on the island. And this time we'll pack up camp. We'll do yoga, meditation, Reiki, have breakfast. We'll do hiking and healing on the way back to Catalina Island as well. And then we'll have our closing ceremony on the beach during lunch, where we'll do some more yoga and meditation and journaling and go over all of the cool stuff that we've learned about ourselves and each other over the course of the weekend. And we have a special surprise on Sunday that we're not talking about yet, but it has to do with music, so you can probably guess. And then we'll return to the mainland. So that is the itinerary so far. Obviously, we have a lot of programming to plug in, but that's like a quick overview of what you can expect every day. Every day, bomb food, delicious, delicious food, wonderful restorative stretching, yoga, Reiki, just all the energy and body work that will help you feel great after these really wonderful hikes. And then more food and wonderful music. So I still haven't been able to find words to describe what this last retreat was like. And frankly, I've just kind of given up, because the feeling and the takeaways and the transformation that happened, even just for a 3-day retreat, not even hiking across the whole island, but just our little like 2.5 day retreat, was life-changing for me. It's been absolutely awesome, just reflecting on everything that's happened since the retreat and all the breakthroughs that I've had personally, and learning about the breakthroughs that are happening in the community of people that joined us. So, pricing, we have 2 different packages. So we have the backpacker option, and that includes your ferry ticket to and from Catalina, 3 nights of camping. Gear haul is included. So if you don't want to like trek all your stuff on your back, you don't have to worry about it. You can just throw a bag into the Catalina backcountry truck. They'll take it for you from campsite to campsite. Food and non-alcoholic beverages are included. Naturalist-led hikes are included, the self-reflection rituals, yoga, meditation, and Reiki with Rebel and Muse, Friday night and Saturday night concert, the Sunday closing ceremony, and surprise, whatever the surprise is, and then the 2-month membership to the Summit Circle. All of that is included in the backpacker price. So the difference between backpacker and comfort camping is backpacker means you are bringing your own equipment. So you're bringing your own tent, your own sleeping bag, your own pillow, all your own stuff. If you don't have that equipment, or if you're coming in from out of town and you don't want to fly with that equipment, you can sign up for our comfort camper package, which includes everything we just mentioned. So all of the programming, all of the food, non-alcoholic drinks. And then it comes with a tent that is set up for you and broken down for you. All you have to do is walk and do yoga and meditate and eat. Everything else is handled. They'll haul your gear for you. They'll set up your tent for you. When you get into Little Harbor, like you like take off your backpack and walk into your palace. It's ridiculous. These tents that Catalina Backcountry has are so awesome. So if you are interested in joining us, a couple things. When you go to the website, and we'll include the URL in the show notes, but it's hikingmyfeelings.org/Catalina-retreats. That's where you can go and sign up. Registration is open, and the way that it works is you pick your package, click register now, fill out the registration form, and at that point, if you are interested in learning more about payment plans or scholarship options, we do have both. So the backpacker package is $1,000. The comfort camper package is $1,200. That's all inclusive, food, camping, retreats. All you have to do is get to California to get to the ferry terminal, and everything else we take care of for you. So the second you get to the ferry terminal, we got you. And if that is unapproachable for you, but this experience would be life-changing, I highly encourage anybody that wants to apply that can't afford it, or right now just can't swing it, come and fill out either the payment plan option, so we can figure out how to break up the payments in a way that does work for you. We offer payment plans of 2 or 3 different payments, or a scholarship. We can offer partial scholarships and full scholarships, and we're working really hard to raise more money to be able to offer more of those, so more people can come to this event, regardless of cost. The reality is, these are events that we do in order to facilitate hiking and healing and mindfulness, and put everything that we teach in Hiking My Feelings into practice. And specifically with Catalina Island, it is an expensive endeavor. Getting to the island adds expenses. having catering on the island. They have to get the food over on a barge. Like everything is just a little bit more expensive than life on the mainland or life at a basic campground. So if this sounds absolutely epic and you want to be a part of it, I will say it till I'm blue in the face. If money is the thing that's holding you back, don't let that be the case. Please send us a note, fill out the registration form, let us know which option you would choose. Like if you have your own equipment and you can get here, you just can't pay, like let us know. And if you want to come out here and you need help on the equipment side of things, that's what the comfort camping is for as well. So literally, if there's any questions at all, hit us up, hello@hikingmyfeelings.org. There's a questions form on the website, and we will do everything that we can to get you there and get you hiking and healing and having an awesome time. So hikingmyfeelings.org/Catalina-retreats. That is where you can go register today. Registration is open. You can either pay in full, apply for a payment plan, or put down your $250 deposit to hold your spot. So that is everything we've got coming up this fall. October is going to be nuts. In the meantime, we're not there yet. So today, my final guest, the man of the hour, Mr. Brett Wilson from Roots of Creation. Brett is just an absolute legend. So I'm going to read a little bit of bio for Roots of Creation, and then we'll learn a little bit more about Brett as well. So Billboard and radio chart topping, award-winning international reggae rock sensation, Roots of Creation are a touring powerhouse. I will agree. I've seen them live. They're epic. Whether on the festival circuit, performing at jam and reggae rock favorites like Camp Bisco, Gathering of the Vibes, California Roots, Jungle Jam, and Closer to the Sun, or sharing the stage at sold-out shows with some of their diverse influences, including Slightly Stoopid, the Wailers, Michael Franti, reggae-rock dubtronica band Roots of Creation offers up high-energy, infectious live music experience. Their mix of reggae riddims, conscious lyrics, spirited horn lines — I love a horn section, I'm such a sucker for a horn section — and electronic beats make crowds move, and has their loyal underground fan base, the RoC Family, and street team, Universal Soldiers, traveling the distance to pack venues from coast to coast. We've got a lot to talk about. Brett, how the heck are you, man? Welcome, tuning in live from New Hampshire. How are you, sir?
I'm good. Can you hear me loud and clear?
Yeah, I can hear you loud and clear. It's so great to see your face. You guys have so much cool stuff going on. Where should we start? Let's start. Well, it's Hiking My Feelings. It's a virtual campfire. What's your relationship like with nature? My husband also grew up in New Hampshire. He was out in the woods.
Yes.
More often than he wasn't. He tells me that the stuff that he did when he was a kid, parents would probably be arrested for now, because he was just out there 10 miles out, doing God knows what. So let's talk a little bit about growing up in New Hampshire and how that informs your relationship with the outdoors and how that influences your music.
Yeah, that's a great starting point. And what he's saying is completely true. I think about that with my daughters all the time. I have a 3-year-old and an 8-year-old daughter. When they go with their friends, we have like this really amazing sculpture park down the road that has like 130 sculptures, all made out of stone and wood and metal. And so we go walk around, but if they disappear too far as the eye can see, I'm always like yelling for them. Or if I'm like, stay on the road, when they're at home, when they're riding their bikes, their skateboards. But I start thinking about, man, I'm a hypocrite. Like my mom used to let me go into the woods for hours, no cell phone, nothing, climbing rocks and trees, and with like a knife out there whittling our own, arrows, and trying to make arrowheads like Native Americans. And just, I don't know, it's just a completely different time and mental space, I believe.
Yeah, 100%. So you mentioned that you used to just sit in the woods and play music. Like what was that like for you, and where do you draw inspiration? Because one of the things I love about Roots of Creation is your lyrics are fun, and for the most part, if I'm not mistaken, uplifting as hell. So like where do these come from, and like where do you find inspiration? Like what role does nature play in your creative process?
Well, I'd say after listening to your podcast, I kind of have to go back to my roots, back to nature a little bit more. You kind of get sucked into your you're a band, you don't think about, oh, I'm writing music and then I'm starting a business and then I'm trying to survive, and you get caught up in all the social media and the laptops and the phones. And so lately I've been trying to unplug every day and, take walks, whether it's, finding a different park to go to, or there's a nice trail out back that has like a little stream that you can go to, or a pond. But we're just lucky in New Hampshire. There's so many places to go. You could go to the ocean, you could go to the mountains, you could go to a river, a lake. It's kind of got it all. So I mean, I guess I really did start literally what we're talking about, playing. Like, the older kids thought I was cool because I had a guitar, so they kind of indoctrinated me into, to my mom's I think the word is chagrin, or she was like, oh, my little introverted son, he's making so many friends. She always tells this to people. I'm so happy about it. And then meanwhile, it's like the Grateful Dead and Fish tribe of like taking their son at 12 or 13 years old and brought him into the woods for keg parties and bongs and fires and tripping and the whole.
Yeah.
I see the tie-dye tapestry. It brings me back to those moments. So, but I made it through. I'm a mostly functioning member of society. So, but it did start with campfires and acoustic guitars and just having fun and just enjoying yourself.
I love that. And I think that's an interesting piece of it too, is like from a mental health perspective, kind of shifting gears a little bit. What was 20 like? So let's kind of like back up a little bit. Like, what was 2019 like for Roots of Creation? And then what did you guys have planned for 2020?
So my story is a little bit intense. So I do try to make mostly uplifting music, but 2019, was a transitional year for me as a person. I was kind of transitioning into probably being a solo dad and splitting with my children's mom on a mutual kind of path. And it was a lot of music. Like, at that point in time, I had finally made it. What I had, you always change what's making it.
Right.
People say
it's a moving target. Yeah.
Right. It's a moving target. So originally it was like selling out a club in Boston and playing with my heroes. Well, and start having an email list of people that sang our songs. So that was accomplished. And then there's this moving target. So that I just turned 39. So at, mid 30s, my making it to me was, can I, survive only on music and, cover my mortgage and take care of my children? To me, that was like making it. As humble as that sounds, doing that as an artist, as I'm sure kind of traveling like a vagabond like us, it's difficult. So
yeah,
that was my goal.
It ain't easy.
and I had finally achieved that. I had been doing that for 3 weeks, although I was barely above and hovering on the poverty line. I was able to do that, and I was proud of that, and I was happy about it. I was working really hard. I was doing probably about 50 shows a year, just me and my acoustic guitar at little bars, or flying to a friend's house to play a backyard barbecue, or playing a fan's wedding. And then I was doing a couple of guys from the band would come with me and do a couple shows, and we'd do like little shows here or there. And then we were doing our ticketed larger festivals, club dates with Roots of Creation, about 80 to 100 of those. So we were firing on all cylinders, not getting to create as much as we'd like to, but working hard,
doing the music. Yeah, you're doing
the music. And we were going to increase just the momentum that we had going on. We did want to create more. I was kind of missing a little of the family vibe, but that was kind of all pushed under the rug, just because you're kind of on this, my old bookie agent calls it the hamster wheel. You're on the hamster wheel. You see the piece of cheese and you go, 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 go. And or Marley calls it the rat race. This is the same thing. And even within yourself, if you're trying to do an alternative career, you can create your own rat race. And then boom, 2020, we kick things off. I do a tribute show to Bradley Newell from Sublime. We donate some money to the Newell Family Foundation. We do a couple shows with the band, and we have a lot of really great things going on. And then almost overnight, I saw every financial means that I had put all in this one touring basket, which also, you know, when we play the show, then the merchandise sells, then we take that to make records and make more merch, disappeared. But I'm like, oh, I still have my little acoustic shows. Maybe I'll get a part-time job and have my little acoustic shows. They'll never cancel the tiny little acoustic shows. 2 weeks later, those were gone. You know, divorce was in full effect. Like, it was like the whole earth was
That's a mess.
was just, and I'm like, you know, I thought the world was ending. And then, you know, I started, you know, I had a great relationship going on of a new thing. And there was a lot of support from my mom and my dad. And there's, you know, a lot of good things going on. And the fans started to pick us up by, you know, purchasing online merchandise, keeping us afloat, and finally was able to get unemployment, had to fight really hard for that, and do live streams, you know, because at this point in time, we had built up kind of an infrastructure of a social media manager and publicity and these different things that we were, you know, bringing into our crew. And I didn't want to stop the momentum. So I just said, fuck it. You know what? I'm not going to pay myself. I'm just going to keep playing music, doing the live streams, and then everything that comes in, we're just going to keep, you know, our little team behind the scenes going on, and we'll focus on the internet. And, you know, we've had people tuning in from all over the globe to the live streams, and, you know, just tried to turn a crazy thing into something positive. But in the beginning, I thought we were toast. I was like,
dude, same. It was over. I was like, no, because we toured in 2019. We did 140 events around the U.S. out of our little van here. And then we had another tour booked now through the U.S. and Canada for 2020 for my book tour. And we were a week into it when everything started shutting down. And I was like March 2020 was going to be the month that we cut payroll and City and Barry get paid. And then nothing. Like, bookstore events canceled, retreats postponed, everything else just down the tubes. And I was like, and like for us, and I'm sure you can relate as a musician, like our bread and butter was getting people out of their devices, like face out of phone and into the wilderness where like we aren't connected. And like, that was our entire operation. And now we can't do any of that. I mean, like, the first 2 weeks, and it sounds like you might have been in a similar situation. I was in a fetal position. Like, I was just like, hold me, somebody, this is terrible. Like, it was just so bad. So glad to know I'm not alone on that. But it sounds like you guys pulled it together. You got some great stuff going for 2021. Let's do a song. If you want,
sure.
I'd love to hear you sing. And then we'll pick up with like what lessons you learned in 2020.
Sure. That
cool.
Sounds good to me.
I'm going to turn off my camera so you get all the real estate on screen.
Can we do a quick sound check? Because you said the guitar
of
sounded
course.
tinny, so I got my electric, but I don't want it to be like blowing you out of the water like
let's do it
like Guns N' Roses or anything, you know. All right, I'm gonna switch this to the computer audio.
All right. Check one.
Sounds right. Amazing. Take it away, Brett. Tell us what you're singing.
All right, so I'll do a song about self-doubt, because no matter what's going on, no matter how well you're doing, everybody that I've talked to or listened to that is interviewed, no matter whether they're an entrepreneur or a musician, really we're all entrepreneurs or on our own path. People doubt themselves. So this one's kind of about that and breaking through that struggle. Well, they may tell you that forever burns. Heat swells my fingers, will we ever learn? Well, truth be told, we may grow old in this new world, but die alone. We will be scared no more, no more. Well, I'm a fool to let this flame go out, but I've been to school and I know how this all works out. The slow death of an individual becomes freedom when you turn the page. Self-doubt and physical illusion, bogged down by so much confusion. Pray for the strength to carry on. And so I say, self-doubt and physical illusion, bogged down by so much confusion. Pray for the strength to carry on. Stone cold confusion and I'm feeling lost. It's the path I've chosen, the righteous one. I just want to hold you in my arms for one more night. Am I there? No more, no more. If everything happens for a reason, then what am I supposed to do? Ooh. 'Cause I just can't shake this feeling. Am I good enough for the truth or you? Self-doubt, a physical illusion, bogged down by so much confusion. Pray for the strength to carry on. And so I say, self-doubt, a physical illusion, bogged down by so much confusion. Pray for the strength to carry on. Can you hold me down like I need you to do? Can you take me as I am? That's what true love would do. Trying to get ready, praying for my strength back. Is it lying here with you? I can feel it. Is it true? 'Cause I saw the light shining down on you. So I thought I sing it in the morning and I sing it in the day. Practice it, carry on, I find a better way. I sing it in the morning and I sing it in the day. Practice it to carry on, I find a better way. I sing it in the morning and I sing it in the day. Practice it to carry on, I find a better way. I sing it in the morning and I sing it in the day. Practice it to carry on, I find a better way. 'Cause self-doubt and physical illusion, bogged down by so much confusion. Pray for the strength to carry on. And so I say, self-doubt and physical illusion, bogged down by so much confusion. Pray for the strength to carry on. Pray for the strength to carry on. Pray for the strength to carry on.
Yeah. So I really wanted to turn on my camera while you were singing because you had an audience of 4 cows go by. We're at this trailhead and it's called Cattleman's Trailhead. It's on the Continental Divide Trail. We're meeting one of our ambassadors here. because he's hiking the Continental Divide Trail, and we just got passed by like 4 cows. It was the coolest thing. So you have wildlife and Sydney and Barry and everybody on the internet watching and
They're
singing
like,
along.
were they like chewing and?
No, they were just moving through. They're like, all
That's
right,
awesome.
yeah. So what's the name of that song? Because I know the chorus.
Yep.
What is the name of that one?
So that's called Strength.
Strength.
It's off
Okay.
our album, Living Free.
Yeah.
Homage to the 603 always a lot of times with the album titles, but yeah, it's just wrote it at kind of a low point, and music kind of helps me get through that stuff. Even was going through a little one during the podcast, and I was writing down some lyrics. It's always important. I sometimes forget to do that because so busy with like I was saying, you get stuck on the hamster wheel, even off tour with kids, or I got to do this, got to do that, hustling, the Kickstarter that we had going on so that we could make new music. It's just it's always a lot of plates in the air. So taking the time to self-reflect and get through the stuff that you sweep under the rug, I feel like is for me a lot of what music is about.
Yeah, I would agree 100%. And I know that song at full speed and not acoustic, and I was like, ooh, I really like this stripped down version. That is nice. I'm like, we need to do an event with Brett around a campfire. My goodness, I love it, because it's like
sounds beautiful.
Well, and that song is so like the message of all the stuff that we do here in the programs that we run. Like it's a part of life, but like when we get the tools to be able to move through it and recognize it for what it is and shut that shit down, like
yes,
anything is possible. Because like it's never going to not creep up. If I ever meet somebody who's like, I've never doubted myself a day in my life, I'm going to be like, 1, what are you smoking? And 2, you're a really good liar. Because I don't think anybody has ever existed on this planet who hasn't felt that at least once, right? Like, so
yeah,
amazing.
I mean, I feel like, yeah, maybe number 3, they're a sociopath or a politician or something.
Right. Yeah. I've never struggled and I don't doubt myself. Yeah. Narcissist / sociopath for sure. So picking up where we left off, 2020, you had great plans. They all got squashed, but you guys pulled through.
Yep.
I know I was struggling with my mental health. Like, what was last year like for you and the band and your community? Was it hard?
Yeah. I mean, I think the most difficult part for me is you have these brothers in your band that you kind of maybe you take for granted the fact that you laugh about stuff and you travel together and you lean on each other for musical ideas, and you're communicating, you're flowing, you're talking about, hey, this is what's going on with my significant other or my kids or my family. You have this camaraderie going on, and then you have a camaraderie at the merch table. You're meeting new people, your high fives and hugs, and people are like, music, help me get off opioids. Music helped me do this, and that's gone, right?
Yeah, and that's a big source. Like I can relate to that. That's a huge source of like fuel. Like we dump out as artists, writers, musicians, whatever. Like we give so much of ourselves because that's what we're here on this planet to do. But that's how we fill back up, is like the energy from the people. So I imagine that's got to be just really difficult to have that just completely cut off like that.
Yeah, it was very difficult. I tried to make fun of it, like on the live streams, like I can't hear you, throw down some clap emojis, whatever. Because that was like silence. Like you finish a song and it's like silence, and like the only way that you can tell whether you're doing a good job is if like the virtual tip jar is going ding 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 and people are putting emojis and throwing hearts down. It's a weird thing, and I adapted to it. But guys in the band they're at this point in different states, so that the capacity for interstate travel was all shut down, and people had to get day jobs to survive, and all this stuff kind of clogged the wheels in terms of being able to really interface and communicate, text, phone calls, video calls. We did our best, but there was a lot of like inward personal soul searching I had to do to make it through that. It made me stronger as a person, a better dad doing the remote learning thing and really like diving head first into that. So it turned out to be a blessing in disguise, but man, it was a difficult, hurdle for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I know you guys recently closed a tremendously successful Kickstarter above and beyond your goal. So tell us a little bit about the inspiration to do the Kickstarter and then what you guys are doing now that it's over.
For sure. So, we had this, I've done 2 crowdfunding campaigns before, and I was like, the last one I did, I was like, oh, I think that's going to be my last one. And then I was like, man, we really need to make more music, and, we've self-funded everything. And I was like, maybe we should reach out to the fans again. I've never done Kickstarter before. Seems like a cool challenge. So I met this company and they were like, we'll help you with it. So we're going to partner with it. Because I really need that, like, just a kind of, they're a coach, we worked with Pledge Music before, and they had a coach with it. And, the self-doubt starts to creep up, because it's all or nothing. And it's really helpful to have somebody to lean on and be like, hey, what do you think? Is my message coming on point? Are people understanding what I'm saying? What, just somebody to have your back, that knows, how to do things properly. And I really, because of what I was going through personally and because of coronavirus, those guys were very patient because I kept delaying it. And I was like, I don't feel comfortable doing this. Like, we're in a pandemic to ask people who are already struggling. And then things started to look like maybe there was a light at the end of the tunnel. And I was like, you know what? I finally had the strength to put it in our little fan group, the RoC Family. I was like, if I did one of these things, would you guys support it? And what kind of packages would you want? And most of the people were like, we don't care about the packages. We just want you to make music. And I'm like, oh my God, this is so simple. Why am I overthinking this? They just want us to freaking keep making music.
Yeah.
It's so simple. We're musicians. They want us to keep making music. But how much more simple could it be?
Right.
And so I reached back up to him. I was like, guys, I'm ready. Let's do this. And, so we made a video at the studio that I'm blessed to have our front of house guy, Pete from Board's House Productions. I've worked with him for, man, I don't even know, maybe 20 years. And he has a studio down the road. And I was like, here's my script. Here's what I'm trying to accomplish. He's like, okay, let's get it done. And, and we made a video, we put it out there, but it's still like, I always say it's like, in high school when you did those trust falls, it's like one of those on steroids. It's like,
yep.
Okay, a giant public trust fall that's live streamed to everybody. It's like, please catch me. Don't make me look like an idiot, and, it's just it's an interesting ride, but, as always, the fans caught us and, it was amazing, but still, no matter, even though I've done it 2 times before, that was many years ago, and I've changed.
And not during a global pandemic. Like, there's a lot of things to consider. Yeah. Like, your fears were legit, by the way.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you. I'm glad you told me after it was done.
Yeah. Rewind. Hey, everything you're feeling, totally valid. I got you.
Totally. Yeah. So, I mean, again, that was a cool journey. And now we get to keep putting out music. And I know that people just want to support us. And so now I'm thinking to myself, maybe we, rather than doing these big crowdfunding campaigns, maybe we move to some sort of a, Patreon or some subscription based thing so that we know, okay, we want to put out a song a month for the foreseeable future, because we always take 2 years, 3 years to put out an album, and people want music continually. And that's kind of how the business has changed. And I want to do that.
Right,
I don't want to sit on 10 or 15 songs for 2 years, and be sending out demos to all my friends like, hey, what do you think about this? And they were like, when are you going to put that out? And then we put it out. They're like, I heard that 3 years ago. I'm like,
Right.
yeah, well, that's because you're my friend. Like, this is new to everybody else. So we're trying to figure out, how can we keep putting out music as much as possible for ourselves, because it makes us feel good, for people because it makes them feel good, and how can we continually provide value above and beyond the music in terms of a community, much like, you guys.
Yeah. Oh, I love it so much. So you've got some new music that you're going to be working on now that this Kickstarter is like, it happened. You guys rocked it. The fans caught you. Thank you, fans. Because I don't want to see Roots of Creation go anywhere. I don't need you guys getting day jobs and being too busy for making music. I ain't got time for that.
No.
So what do you guys have coming up in 2021? So you're working on new music.
Yep.
And do you guys have any shows that are on the forecast that you're kind of looking at, or?
We do. We have some that are announced, some of that are unannounced. They're slowly coming back, and I'm really grateful for especially the state of New Hampshire's seems to be moving a little bit faster than a lot of other places in the Northeast. And so it looks like our first show in New Hampshire right now that is announced will be in Hampton Beach, New Hampshire, right on the ocean, with our brothers in Badfish, a tribute to Sublime at the Casino Ballroom.
Nice.
And at that point in time, I believe it's their opening weekend. And it's going to be full capacity. So New Hampshire's goal is by July, to be full capacity. It's my understanding. I could be, incorrect, but that's, what was thrown on to me by a newspaper reporter the other day that interviewed me. So I figure they know what they're talking about.
Well, we hope so.
I hope so. And, I got a show where I'm going to jam with a bunch of really awesome bands in Wyoming for the second time. It's called Reggae in the Rockies.
Oh, nice. I heard about that one.
Yeah, that's going to be great. It's got the Elevators, Fortunate Youth, Indubious, a bunch of really cool. I think Indubious did something with you guys, right?
Yep, I love those guys. I was like on another planet for that conversation. I was like, where are we? Y'all aren't from here. Yeah,
they're definitely interstellar beings,
dude. For
from
sure.
Oregon.
yeah, exactly. That's where the aliens landed.
Planet Oregon.
No. Planet Oregon, indeed. Oh my God, that's wild. So you'll be at Reggae in the Rockies too. That's so cool. What are you guys doing? Do you have anything in August in New Hampshire? Because that's where I'll be.
I think that we are planning some things in August for sure.
Cool.
We're going to be doing a really amazing event in Pittsburgh in August called RoC Reggae and Relief that we do each year. And they donate all the profits they pick a nonprofit of their choice each year. This year, I believe, is going to be something to do with the hospitality industry, which was hit, just as hard as
terribly hard.
us.
Yeah.
And so each year they get amazing artists. We get to jam and stuff. And so this year it's Jason Mraz, who put out a reggae album with a lot of amazing people on it. The Expanders, some of the Agrolites, and we have who else? Some of the Easy Star All-Star people were on that record. And then Michael from Rusted Root's going to be there. And then the Wailers, obviously Bob Marley's band, will be there and we'll be there. So it's kind of become a family vibe where we try to come back every year. Pittsburgh's almost like a second home for some reason. I don't know why. They just seem to vibe with the Northeast thing that we got going on, except they hate our sports teams. But yeah, so we have a lot of really cool, events happening on like the smaller scale of festivals where it's like a couple thousand people, nothing like crazy.
Right.
Our fear kind of with the bigger stuff is like it keeps getting rescheduled. So we're kind of working within our comfort zone of, what is definitely going to happen. Well, we know these people have the permits. They're going to make it happen. The fans aren't going to be strung along.
Yeah.
We're good friends with the people we're working with, and a lot of good causes happening. So it's, we're just starting slow, and doing our thing.
I love that. Ooh, so good. So let's do one more song and then we'll talk about where people can get involved and support the band. So what you got?
Are you going to be here, or is it just going to be your little picture
I'll be here.
staring at me? Man.
Do you need someone to play to? I've always turned off my camera for artists. This would be a first.
Yes, please. Yes, please. If I could play for a real person rather than an icon, that would make my day.
Fantastic. All right. Well, then, Aya and Lydia, go ahead and turn on your cameras too. Let's give Brett a crowd. You got a group of three, three strong.
That's awesome. All right.
Fantastic.
So
All right.
we should do something fun and uplifting here. Let me see what we can do. All right, this one's called Uplift the People. We might as well go with the song that's called Uplift, you know?
Yeah.
Yaga, yaga, yo. Is anybody listening when I sing these words I sing? Throughout our history, we have destroyed our family tree. So gather your district revolt. And even if you don't sense no evil, take a look around, look up, look down. It's time to uplift the people. Na, 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 na. Hey! Na, 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 na. Hey! It's time to stand up and be counted. No barcode, though this is flesh and blood united. So get excited and grind and light it and let it burn slow. And light you in a flame, cause RC changed the game when everyone sounds the same. So let's pool our energy. Can you feel the synergy? Move you. Millions of voices can be heard, so make your point and cock your gun filled with words. But paint the picture of the scripture of Martin Luther King, cause we're all human beings. It's time to live up to the dream, a flow up the river stream, and realize one thing: you are love and positivity. Yeah. Is anybody listening when I sing these words I sing? Throughout our history, we have restored our family tree. So gather your district people, and even if you don't sense the evil, take a look around, look up, look down. It's time to uplift the people. Na 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 na. Is anybody listening? Hey, is anybody listening? Hey.
Yeah.
I'm listening. Some listeners. You're listening. They're both listening.
Barry's like, here's your lighter. I'm like, yeah. Oh
Light
my
it up.
goodness. Yes, I love it. So for every artist that we have on the show, we always put the songs that they play on our virtual campfire playlist for Spotify. Yeah. But are there like a couple songs, like if nobody's ever heard of Roots of Creation and they're like, oh my God, this band is dope. Like, what are the two songs that you would recommend that people listen to other than the ones you played?
I would go with they probably wouldn't recommend those two songs just because they're kind of like chill. I mean, some people like the second one, Uplift, but those might be like deeper cuts. The ones that are the most popular typically are like kind of the party rocking, baby making songs like "Oh Lord" or "Three Times a Lady." Those are the ones that tend to get the crowd moving, and people, the numbers on the interwebs tell us that those are the most popular. Yeah, they don't lie.
They don't lie. Oh, I dig it.
And everybody seems to really like our Grateful Dead tribute album, Grateful Dub, a reggae infused tribute to the Grateful Dead.
Is that the tour we saw, Grateful Dub?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we saw you when you came to, where is it, Winston's? Mm-hmm. We saw you at Winston's.
Oh, nice.
In
Amazing.
OB. Yeah.
I love that place.
Tour. Dude, so good. I
think
miss live music
Dalo
so much.
I think Dalo was from Stupid was jamming
Yep.
with us that night.
It
Yeah,
was. I'm a sucker for a horn section. I was like, what?
yeah, that was
You got some cool friends, man.
that was a great night. Yeah, so off that record, everybody seems to dig, especially my kids, like our version of Fire in the Mountain. We were blessed to have Marlon Asher and Stephen Marley on that. Stephen's birthday is 4/20, so got to give him a shout out. And man, I just watched it, like pertaining to what you guys talk about. I just watched that Netflix documentary about I hope I say her name right, Greta, the environmental activist.
Yeah,
it was like one of the craziest things. I feel terrible drinking this like soda out of a can right now after watching. She freaking sailed for like 3 weeks to not use a plane to speak in New York City. Like I just, even like with her own personal struggles too. It was crazy. I couldn't believe it.
Well, and you'll never look at the ground the same either. Like there's so many, like when I first learned about like microplastics and stuff like that, like living in San Diego, I was like, this is atrocious. This beach is trash. This is outrageous. So yeah, man, if I wish I was that cool when I was her age, honestly, like to know what you stand for and stand for it so unapologetically at such a young age. Like, I don't know who beat the hope out of me by that time, but like she's got it, man. She gets it. So I love that. It's been so great chatting with you. Where can people find Roots of Creation? Where can people find you, and how can they keep up with what you guys got going on?
For sure, you can connect with us. I'd say the best ways to connect with us would be via email if you join our email list, or if you join our little Facebook group, the RoC Family, just because those are the two ways that aren't kind of skirted by algorithms and whatever Mark Zuckerberg decides to show you. There's also like a phone number you can text me at, that's actually me. That's another way to communicate. I like those methods because there's not somebody outside kind of dictating, whether you get to see we announced a show or not. You want to know that we announced a show, but does, Mr. Zuckerberg want to let you know? We don't, he's not sure. His algorithms are, but if you do choose to follow us on Instagram or Facebook or Spotify, YouTube, all those places are still supportive. You just may miss out on some things.
Right. Yeah. And that's the tricky part about being indie and being on the new side and the small side, and not even the small side. Cause like, think about the venues you've played. Like there are thousands and thousands and thousands of people that love what you guys do. So join the Facebook group, join their email list so you can definitely hear about things. And then like for vanity, let's throw them a like on Instagram and Facebook too.
yeah, that's all vanity. It's like social media makeup, or
that's right. Yeah, I dig it. Well, cool. So Aya and Lydia, if you want to put your cameras back on, we'll do our group gratitude circle. I'll kick us off. So when we talk about some fun stuff, we talk about some heavy stuff. It just depends on the week. But at the end of our events, whether in person or online, we always like to bring it back to gratitude and go around the circle and share what we're grateful for. It's my favorite way to pull myself out of a funk when I'm feeling dark and twisty, because there's always something to be grateful for, even if it's just that like my body is breathing and that I am breathing and that I'm functioning at some capacity. So fortunately, I've got lots to be thankful for today. So we are currently in New Mexico. Like I mentioned, we're waiting for our friend Mike, who is a long distance backpacker who lives with type 1 diabetes, to meet us here. He started the Continental Divide Trail down at the border at Mexico earlier this week. And so we're waiting to intercept him and hear about his adventures so far. So I'm grateful for, one, the ability to travel again. Just being on the road feels a little bit more like home. We're very fortunate that we have a wonderful home base when we're not on tour, but this is the life I chose and this is the life I want to live. So it's nice to be able to live it again. So I'm grateful for the opportunity to tour again. I'm grateful for the opportunity to have Wi-Fi in the middle of nowhere, like because of cell service, like what is possible. So I'm just grateful for all the things today, specifically Aya and Brett, for you joining us. So thank you for being here. Brett, what are you thankful for?
My pleasure. Man, I'm grateful to be here and just sharing music and communicating and just getting our message out there and helping you guys get your message out there. I'm grateful for my family and friends and everybody who supported our Kickstarter project and continues to be a part of our journey, and especially grateful for my daughters and you know, just everybody who supports me, because it takes a village, especially for our special little sensitive artist musician types.
Yes, indeed. All good things. And Aya, how about you? What are you thankful for?
I am thankful to be here and have this opportunity to hang out with you guys. Yeah, today particularly, I think I was just having a tough day, and it was like such a great sort of shift and break away from the regular like 9 to 5. So I appreciate that this is technically, you know, for some not like off hours, depending on where, you know, like where you are in the world. Or so thanks for creating that space during what would have been another just hectic few hours in my life through work. So really appreciate that. And similar to Brett, just all of the support that I have from friends, family, like Brandon, my partner, my dog who's sleeping on the ground right there. I don't know if you can see it, you probably can't anymore, but really everyone here who is here to sort of lift me up when I have, you know, bad days like this. And then also people who are willing to listen to our stories that we're sharing.
Yes. Oh my goodness. Well, for everybody that's on YouTube, have a good night. We're going to end our live stream, but for anybody on Zoom that wants to stick